Come on. Oh, now we're up. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Live, local, up to the minute. Storms are coming. So, for those that are going to wonder what the heck is going on, this is actually going to be the show number 3. So, if you thought this was going to be the show where Matt's going to be drunk and as a skunk, that's not happened yet. So don't think that. This is going to be a different show because we're going to have to talk about bad weather coming, evidently, because it decided to come.
Yep.
Unfortunately. So Matt's actually on his way home. I'm at home right now, and I just got home, and I'm now in my air conditioning because I had to turn it on because I didn't have it on today. And
I'm in my pseudo air conditioning in my truck because it doesn't really work that well.
Well, yeah, truck air conditioners, then unless you have an extended cab where it's almost like a car. I think air conditioners in bigger trucks tend to work better. I'm not going to get nosy, but
I have a Ford Ranger, and my AC sucks.
What year is it?
2001.
That's funny.
Why did you have that?
Yeah, well, I'll say this for the benefit of everybody because I got a new. What the heck was that?
Sorry, it was a moped.
Okay, anyway, for those that would know, because I used to have a truck. Used to, because I sold it. Well, it was under my mom's name. Actually, it was under my dad's name. Then we had to switch it to my mom's name. And then my mother and I sold it because it was just needing work. It was a 2000 Ford Ranger.
Oh, nice.
XSP. Let's just say it's air conditioning. I turned it on one time. The check engine light came on. Yeah, it was never on after that. But anyway, whoops, I just did something. Hopefully I didn't just cancel us. No, we're still on. But anyway, we're going to preview the pretty nasty severe weather that's going to be taking place. And unfortunately,
yes.
And this is reminiscent to a lot of summer events that I've seen of late. And I got
northwest to southeast type deal. That's my inkling anyway.
Yeah, and this is what people don't understand, that too many people see the stuff that goes on in the South, like April 27th and whatnot, where you have southwest to northeast tornadoes or any type of severe weather. We have that here, and I've mentioned this on numerous other shows, but in the summer, it switches to the northwest, from northwest to southeast. I could start naming numerous times we've had numerous severe weather, including tornadoes, that came from the northwest.
Yep.
So up here, we don't have unidirectional coming just from one direction. We have to look in different directions. So,
yep.
And I'm
we're
going to
in that magical place where we're always on the edge of the ring of fire.
Yep, and that's unfortunately what this is going to be, because it's going to be setting up on the north end of a warm front. So,
yes, sir.
And let me bring up, because this is today's outlook, because we're doing this on, what day is this? Tuesday.
Wednesday. Yes, Tuesday, June 21st.
Tuesday is today. So we're doing this today on Tuesday. So this is what the SPC outlook is right now. And it shows there's a slight enhanced risk up here in North Dakota. And then the slight risk comes all the way down into Western Illinois. That's going to be with storms that are going to be forming. There looks to be something trying to form in Western Iowa, which I might bring up on radar. I don't have my radar up right now, so let me go and bring that up while I do that. And then, of course, there's the severe weather off to the east. There's an enhanced risk over by D.C. and off into the Delmarva, but we're not concerned about that. We're concerned about this. Boy, it's active over where you are today. All the excitement going on.
What's that?
With all the noise of the engines going by. So
there's a lot of motorcycles out today.
Yeah, it's a good day for it. But
yes, it is.
So let me take this off. Whoops, because it did the storm thing. Because this is what's going on right now. We're doing this at almost 4:45. And here happens to be the radar right now. These are in Western Iowa. They're trying to form. They don't look severe. Might have small hail cores, but I'm not concerned about that at this point. But
what's funny is I'm looking off to my west. I mean, those are way out there in Western Iowa, correct?
Yes, by Carroll.
I'm looking off to my west, and I can see the cirrus blowing off of those storms.
I don't doubt it. They're probably doing that. Now, this is what we're concerned about. This looks very, very. Now you'd say in Iowa, it's like, well, the moderate risk is east of there. The likelihood it's going to be is the moderate risk from Illinois, Wisconsin eastward is likely going to be a derecho. It's going to be a squall line. The western end of the moderate risk, and I'm going to denote it because I'm going to bring it up. So sorry, it's going to pop up. So hopefully it's back up. Yes, it is. The west, it's probably this area right here. Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, pretty much the tri-state area around Dubuque. It's going to be where the initiation is. So those cells will be supercells. So those will likely have tornadoes. Probably, maybe even some strong ones. Because there's going to be a lot of veering with the winds. There's going to be a warm front in this area. And then the storms are going to slide to the east in what will likely be a derecho that's going to go all the way across Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. Probably even as it weakens, it might be by sunrise Thursday morning, they may be hitting D.C., Philadelphia, and toward New York City by sunrise, or maybe just past sunrise Thursday morning.
Yes.
It's going to be one of these cases where you're going to have what I would say an MCS type event form in Iowa with supercells, congeal over Illinois, Wisconsin, and then sweep across pretty much just along Interstate 80. It's going to be trucking down the road, and they're not going to stop. So,
nope, they are not.
So
now here's my thing. Well, I'll get to that here in a little bit because I'm currently in line at Starbucks. I'm getting my evening coffee.
Okay, so if you have, he's getting his coffee anyway. So, but yeah, here's the hatched area that there could be some very nasty weather, which more or less means that there could be significant weather, which in this case, even in the area further east, would probably be winds over maybe 80 miles per hour or even maybe over 100. Tornadoes, maybe some significant. I don't think this is going to be like oh my gosh, we're going to have 40 or 50 tornadoes. I think there's going to be a few strong tornadoes, maybe 1 or 2 or 3. There's going to probably be a handful, maybe at least a dozen to 2 dozen tornadoes total, and lots of wind reports. I think hail is going to be probably the least thing. There's going to be hail, but I don't think it's going to be like a big thing. It might be big at the beginning, and then it's going to tail off, and the tornado threat's going to tail off, but it'll be higher than hail probably the whole time. Something like that. I've seen this too many times. I wouldn't be surprised if they may. I don't think they're going to go to high, but I'd have to see model data for anything else. So we'll see what happens with that. But this is the type of weather that concerns me because we haven't had a lot of active weather, or what we haven't had is days when they're predicting that we're going to be active and then nothing happens, and then days that we're not going to expect much, we get too much. So I feel as though this is a very decent threat we've had, probably the best threat. I hate to say the word best. The worst threat we've had, I'll say that, worst threat we've had this season or this year. And I'm almost starting to think if this ends up busting, there's going to be a lot of people in Iowa that are probably not going to take anybody's word the next time we get something like this and then something happens. This is the type of thing that could put into people's mind, oh, they said storms were coming. They said they'd be significant. Nothing happened. Won't trust them again. I hate to think this is going to be the type of event that if it busts, this could be the thing that's going to change a lot of people's minds. I just fear that's going to happen. I don't want to say there better be storms, but I'm almost starting to think that there needs to be, because there's been too many times this year where stuff hasn't worked out right or something has happened. So
I would say, yeah. I think this is the best setup here that we've had in the Midwest since March when I chased.
Yeah. I noticed earlier today, because I looked at models earlier today before I left and went out. I actually looked at soundings on the NAM and on Pivotal Weather, and it had, and I put it over Cedar Rapids.
Okay.
And it said PDS Tour.
Now what run was that?
12.
Most current?
That was 12Z. I haven't looked at the 18Z. The 18Z is already out.
Okay. And that's what's concerning me, and I'll get to that here in a minute because I'm 2 cars away from having to pay for my coffee, but I want to get to that a little bit more, some of the models and stuff, and I have a couple of questions as well.
Okay. And I'm sure it's looking at.
And my questions kind of revolve around work because I've become at work kind of the impromptu company meteorologist.
Yeah.
And the owner of my company comes to me for weather advice whenever he has a question.
Yeah.
And I gave him a short and dirty briefing this morning. Now, granted, I haven't had a chance to see much in the way of any data since 9 o'clock this morning when I gave him that briefing. I've been working. I do concrete, so it's not really something I can just take an hour, sit down, and look at data.
I mean, look at it. I could show you this, and I'm not sure if you're paying, but I'll show it to everybody else because I'm sure this is showing up on my screen. Yeah, it is.
I'm about to pay right now. I'm going to put you on mute right now.
Okay, so he's right now going to be like paying. So he's paying. He's being overcharged. But anyway, so when we look at this, and I'm going to have to look at this thing. What I see here, now this is early in the morning, which I don't think there's going to be tornadoes at this time of the day. If there was, I'd be like really wondering what the heck's going on. This is the significant tornado parameter that I'm looking at. This would be at 10 a.m. And so, and I'm sure now you're back from paying.
Yes.
This is the significant tornado parameter at 10 a.m.
Really?
This color you see right here, that now you know from what SPAN says that anything over 1 is considered significant.
Correct.
You see these colors?
They're like 8s.
That's 8. That is horrifying. But this is at 10 a.m. Do we expect tornadoes at 10 a.m.? I doubt it. But then if I zoom it, this is the next one. This is at 1 o'clock. It's now dissipating. And then it looks like it just kind of reformed by Dubuque in the Tri-States. But you can kind of tell from this point, you see this line right here?
Yep.
That's, I think, where the NAM, this is 18Z's NAM, that's where okay.
Say that part again. This
is where I'm thinking right now, this line is where I'm thinking the NAM, this is the 18Z NAM, is thinking that's where the warm front's is going to set up. Is right about here, because I can click, and I'll click, I'm not going to click here. I'm going to click down here at Cedar Rapids, which is about right here, and it should give me a NAM sounding. And this is at 1 o'clock. And it has.
So what you're pulling up is the current 18Z NAM sounding.
Yeah, this is the NAM sounding from the 18. This is the sounding from the 18Z NAM at 24 hours, which would be
right.
1 p.m. tomorrow. And it shows pretty much that the hazard type is TOR, which is a tornado. There's going to be a lot of humidity because, I mean, the dew point, it says the temperature will be 88, the dew point will be 76, so it ain't going to be nice.
No.
South, and they'll switch immediately to west. Maybe even slightly south and a little east of south, of due south. It says the MU, the Cape, will be around the mixed layer would be 34, surface would be 5100. So you're going to have capes that are going to be out of control. There's going to be no cap. LCL heights are, I'm thinking they're a little too high. But you look down here at the effective layer STP, and it says 6. So you're way up here. And this just screams that it's serious. But
And that's my question. Now that I'm done paying, that's my question. Is the moderate risk a little too far east? Because I I got to look at a little bit of data at 9 a.m. this morning, and I pulled up the same thing. I can't remember what model I used, but I saw the forecast sounding, and it said for Dubuque and Cedar Rapids for the current run as of 9 a.m. this morning, both Dubuque and Cedar Rapids were PDS tour.
yeah,
My concern is that moderate risk is a little too far east.
Well, I think the thing is the moderate risk it may be in the right spot, because I think the moderate risk is mainly for the wind and not for the tornadoes. That's why I think the enhanced risk is further west than it probably should be if it was a derecho, because the when the storms build and initiate, there'll be supercells. They're not going to be squall lines. So what's going to happen is those supercells will probably almost immediately be spinning, and probably within 30 to 40 minutes of when they start, could be producing tornadoes. And the thing is, we don't know where those are going to form. The SPC has a fairly good idea where they're going to form, and I can take this off because this PDS tour, as you see here, was actually, I clicked up here by Manchester.
Okay.
That had southeast winds at the surface and west winds up above it.
Really?
Why? Because that's the warm front. That's what the NAM says. Now, this is the regular NAM. I can switch it to the 4-kilometer NAM and get a totally different thing. Now, whether or not, it's ready. So let me see what I get. I've noticed that between the regular 12-kilometer, which is the normal NAM, and the 4-kilometer, I get something totally different. Now, see, even here, this is tonight. This is tonight, right here. Look at that. This
That's got to be overblown.
No, but it's showing. It's not. I don't think it's overblown. It's showing that is where there's going to be a lot of shear. That's pretty much showing where the warm front is. You can get a good idea of where the warm front is, because it dissipates, and you see where the warm front is, and look how narrow it looks. Because this is 1 o'clock again. Now it's down here, and it's not as bad, but it's still.
It's still there. It's still present.
It's a little but then look, it just then disappears and it kind of moves off. This is more what I would think is going to happen, because it's 4 o'clock. This is at 4 p.m. Peak of daytime heating. That's your warm front. It's somewhere between here and maybe about 50 miles north, and either side of that, 50 miles. And
so Cedar Rapids really is on the borderline of we need to watch out, or maybe it not be so bad.
Yeah, the thing I fear is, because says Tor, but look at the wind. The wind down here is almost all over the place, and then it goes to west, which is why it's not PDS Tor, because the wind down here, the surface looks like it's light. And a light.
That's what you want for classic tornadoes. You want a fairly light surface wind.
Well, you want a light wind that's not all over the place. It looks like it's all goofy, and it doesn't make sense. And then it kind of becomes a little more uniform, south to southwest and west.
Okay.
So, I mean,
now let me land the plane a little bit. The reason why I bring that up is because based off of what little bit I saw, and it's looking at the trends, because, we're both weather nerds. We both look at the weather every day. Looking at the trends, I recommended that at the very least, we got off early tomorrow. At the very most, we didn't work tomorrow. A, because of the rain in the morning and tonight. Well, it's horrible. Pouring concrete and that much wet is a bad idea.
Yeah, because it ain't going to dry.
To begin with. But with the risk of severe weather, that it is, and I communicated to my owner with no uncertain terms that there's no way of knowing where these storms are going to form. We won't know that until they're actually up.
Yeah,
going. But the exact thing I told him was where the storms form, they will be nasty, and
Yeah.
they will probably produce tornadoes. And
Or if not, they'll produce something nasty anyway. Wind,
yes,
probably downburst, you'll get anything. You have to prepare for the unexpected. And
that's why I recommended at the very least that he let us out a little early. Probably I would guess probably 1 o'clock.
probably.
That's the guess, or
Yeah.
that's the time that I gave him for us to let out. So those of us that live a little further away have time to get home and prepare.
Yeah. If we don't have morning convection. Because
Right.
there's the possibility there could be morning convection, which could make things even worse. Because, as you know, and a lot of people would know, morning convection, because I will take a guess, we're going to get storms coming from somewhere during the night.
Yes.
And by morning, they'll be dissipating. They'll leave boundaries. Any storm that forms along a boundary is going to be more prone to produce something nasty. Likely tornadoes, or at the very least, a very strong rotating updraft that could produce big hail.
Big hail, and again, because of the wind profiles, very strong winds.
Yeah. And I have the composite reflectivity, and what it shows is that you can see the storms developing further east, as you can see here. This is tomorrow night. And then
Okay.
off, because here you see nothing happens. This is 4 o'clock. Remember, big bad storms? There's none here. But this is one model. I mean, we can't just expect everything. Now, this is composite. Now, I can move it up to this 1 kilometer, which doesn't make much difference, or a whole heck of a lot of difference. But right off the bat, it kind of shows the storms. Remember I showed earlier forming out here? It kind of starts to show those. Maybe a little too far.
That's trying to pick up on it.
And then,
but those are very small and they're very scattered on that model output, which tells me supercell.
Yeah, but what I'm seeing too is that on this is back to the 4 kilometer, it's showing the storms forming further east. And I'm wondering if it's having a bad time trying to catch this or not. I mean, I could bring this up because I'm going to, let me see if I can find, I'm going to see, let's bring up the surface-based CAPE. Because this would give me a clue as to what's going on. And I'm going to look at this. Because if there's anything going on, because you can't pour concrete if it's raining.
No.
Could, but I doubt it.
Well, even if it's raining, but we're already under a flash flood watch.
Yeah, that was the next thing. But see, now here's the CAPE. Now this back to 4 kilometer. Pick out the warm front.
Yep.
You can see it. The CAPE is showing it. This is what the 4 kilometer NAM says the warm front's going to be. Now, the 4 kilometer NAM also showed all these thunderstorms developing up here. Do you see CAPE up there? Nope.
No.
So it's so difficult because, I mean, everything is pointing at tornadoes at the beginning and then a derecho that's going to start somewhere probably in Illinois, Wisconsin, and then it's just going to sweep eastward, southeastward, probably at between 40 to 60 miles per hour, produce widespread wind damage, probably upwards of 70 to 80, 90 miles an hour or more.
Yeah, the derecho actually reminds me quite a bit of the Vinton windstorm a few years ago.
Yes.
I know we brought that up in shows past, but that really does what it seems to be is that type of event. Maybe not as severe because they clocked winds at, I think, 115 miles an hour.
Yes,
and
115.
I think there were reports, from anemometers of 115 in Vinton.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be that nasty, but the setup kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, it's going to be just nasty, nevertheless.
This is a difficult forecast. Like you said, this is a very difficult, very clouded forecast.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I fear is going to happen, and I've seen this happen too, where we have the morning stuff, and then there's no cap, so the storms just keep refiring. and then it just kills off afternoon convection. I have seen that too often, where you get the storms and then they kind of try to do tail end Charlies, and you just get continuous development during the day,
Yep.
and it just kills afternoon convection off because they're just continuously, and all it's doing is just raining. I mean, the storms, even though storms could still be severe, but are they going to probably be tornadic? Probably not. Are they going to probably produce other type of severe weather? They could. And then the fear is if you're going to have training storms, that's where the flash flooding is going to take place.
Correct.
So, and now you're at home.
Yes, I am.
So, another thing would be is what the temperature is going to do. At least this is. I'm still on the 4 kilometer NAM. I mean, at some cases, I would have to look at, say, like the HRRR or the RAP, but those models only go out. The HRRR only goes out 15 hours, so it wouldn't do much of any good, except for maybe to look at what storms could be doing tonight. But so if I would look at what the temperature is going to be, I mean, right off the bat, this is at 4 o'clock, and I think you can pretty much take a guess that this is out of control when it says the temperature in Dubuque is going to be 74 and Burlington 97. I wonder if this is a little overdone. This is where I think
you're right.
Something is amiss. And this is the model. That's why I have to start to take into consideration everything. You could look at capes and all this stuff to your heart's content. But then if it's overdoing the temperatures on both sides, then you have to start to kind of tone it back down. So by looking at this, I'm thinking the temperatures look too extreme. I don't hear anybody talking about mid-90s in southern Iowa tomorrow. 90, 91, 92 maybe, but 96, 97? I don't know about that. And northeast Iowa barely getting out of 70. I mean, this is 68 up here at La Crosse and 69 over here by Austin, Minnesota. I don't know about that. That would indicate clouds and stratus clouds and cold weather. And this extends all the way across into Ohio, according to this model. I don't know. That just looks awfully. And then it goes from 70 to like 90 in an hour's drive. I mean, if this actually came about, that would probably make me even more frightened. Because having temperature extremes kind of this violent is a little unusual. Not unheard of, but that would almost indicate that warm front's going to be a lot more vigorous, more aggressive. The storms.
And there's more dynamics involved with it too.
Yeah, I mean, I can bring up.
If that were the case, to actually come about.
I mean, let me see. I mean, you can see the flow on here because this is the 500 millibar height with the wind, and you can see the flows kind of almost like the ring of fire because you can see nothing down here. See the jet stream, you can pretty much see where the storms are going to go. They're going to form here, and then they're going to slide that way, in that direction. This more or less is showing where the storms are going to move. The storms are going to move from west to east, or maybe slightly south of due east here, and then they'll move more southeast as they move further away. So it's something we'll have to watch and whatnot. And then when we look at precipitable water, I mean, anything that's in this blue color, that's when you're looking at close over 1.5 inches, and then the dark purpley, or the purple that's down here, is now over 2. And let me, come on, get this up and look at this. Pretty much indicates that any rain that falls
is going to be very heavy rain.
Yeah.
But then look at that. Look at the out west. That to me looks like a cold front.
As you seeing this, how the PWATs kind of slide like a cold front.
Yeah.
I know.
Or is that the warm front retreating?
What's happening is the tornadoes and all this excitement is going to be with the low pressure center. And as you can see, according to this, here's the low right here.
Yep.
Because that's 1,004 millibars right here. And
that's scarily close to where we're at.
Yeah, because we're right here.
That is scarily close to where we are.
And I mean, that's why, I mean, you look at these PWatt levels, this is tropical rain. Farmers, there's parts of southern Iowa that down here that really need the rain, and we talked about that. But on the show back on Friday, or Saturday, I mean. But this is the type of rain that's going to just run off. It's not going to help farmers any. They need a nice nocturnal type thunderstorm that drops maybe like a half an inch to an inch of rain, and then it goes away in like a 2 to 3 hour period. That kind of like those complexes. You see these big, humongous masses of rain that have some thunder and lightning with them. This isn't going to be one of them events, especially tonight. It's probably going to be one of those events tonight, maybe, but there's probably going to be severe weather with it. And then any boundaries that they leave off for tomorrow could probably just form other storms. And any storms that develop are going to probably be dumping everything. And some of these PWatt levels are approaching 2.5 to 3. And you very rarely,
which is high for us.
You don't get PWatt levels that high unless you're down in the tropics.
Correct.
So, and then it moves off, and then it kind of dries out a little bit. But we're just going to have to wait and see what this is going to bring. I mean, I could bring up my storms, and they don't look like those storms are going to last if it's showing up on my screen, which it isn't. So let me fix that.
I get the sense, as a spring chicken forecaster, I get the sense that you are not at all okay with tomorrow's forecast. As in, you're very, very, very concerned.
I'm more concerned than normal than any of the other ones, because I've seen setups like this before that have either busted badly due to the fact that we get a morning convection that never stops developing, and it just develops and it just keeps raining, which could lend to flooding, which we don't need. Or it turns out that it clears out. It looks like it does outside right now, completely blue sky. Of course, it'll be hazy probably.
Right.
And something just lets off, and it could be producing tornadoes immediately. I'm prepared for anything. I'm prepared for us to have just a morning round of storms and nothing else. I'm prepared for tornadoes. I'm prepared for anything. Because when I'm seeing everybody concerned, and I mean, it's not like we're under a moderate risk. The moderate risk ceased here. I think the concern is going to become tomorrow morning when the morning first, I'll get out. When the first outlook comes out after midnight, about 1 a.m.
Okay.
But then that's just going to be like a guesstimate, because whatever storms morning convection we get, we're not going to know anything of what the day one outlook is going to look like or what the atmosphere will look like until after those morning storms have left. Or if the morning storms never get here, then I would say it's the midday outlook that will be the one to watch. And by then, you maybe have, at the least, maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours before storm initiation. But there could be storms initiating before then. The atmosphere is not going to be capped that much. So storms are going to, the minute it gets to the convective temperature, they're going to go up. Depending on what the convective temperature will be where it is, where the storms go, we could have storms all morning, or we could have nothing. And then they pop. If it's raining by mid to late morning, I doubt there'll be any severe weather. But if it is looking like it does right now by, say, 10 a.m., then everything's on the table. Tornadoes, hail, wind, everything.
I'm sorry you broke up. Could you say that last sentence or two again.
Okay, after I said if we have rain, or the thing after that?
After we have rain.
Okay, if we've had rain, if it's raining at 10 a.m. and it doesn't look like it's going to clear, it's probably severe weather. Probably not going to happen. But if it's looking like it is outside right now, where it's sunny, maybe a cloud or two around, everything's on the table between tornadoes, wind, hail, everything. If the storms go, I don't think we're going to have a strong enough cap that's going to not have storms initiate, but I don't know. It's so difficult because the forecast has been so bad lately with severe weather. Kind of it just moseys around where it wants to. So, but these warm front setups, because this is a warm front setup, these are the ones that are typically here the worst. Because unlike in the South, where it's stuff ahead of a cold front, here it's stuff along a warm front that tends to be the worst. And this is going to be one of those setups. Is it going to be bad? At this point, I don't think anybody knows how bad it could get. They're saying it's probably going to be nasty further to the east, but that's mainly wind. People are getting the assumption that moderate risk is for tornadoes. Yes, SPC is mentioning that, but that is going to congeal into an MCS or derecho, and it's going to be mainly a wind event. Because, surprise, surprise, you can still get a moderate risk if the wind is the main thing and there's no tornado risk. You can still wind at 45%, and that's a moderate. I think 45 or 60.
45 is a moderate.
Yeah.
60% is high.
See, you can get a high risk of severe weather and not have a tornado risk, or a very low risk, like 5%. And there's
I have seen those setups before. I remember, I can't remember exactly what year it was, but it was around here. We had that kind of a setup. We were in a moderate risk, and there was a high risk nearby. And we got put under a PDS severe thunderstorm watch.
Yes.
Or wind.
We're going to see.
I remember seeing the
we're going to see
probabilities at the bottom of the watch, and the tornado was very low.
Yeah.
And strong tornado EF2 or above was none.
Yeah.
And the rest were all high. Severe hail.
Yeah.
Severe wind, 65 plus knot wind were all high.
Yeah. And I have a feeling we're going to see a PDS severe thunderstorm watch. Now the thing is, even with a derecho, you can't rule out a tornado. There still could be one. One of those.
Yeah, with that much wind involved, if
you get a spin up tornado, but they're not going to last long. And the thing is going to be is any tornado is probably going to produce the same amount of damage as if you got hit by the strong straight line winds instead.
Correct.
It's not going to matter. It's probably going to be
not going to tell the difference, other than the wind, other than the debris will be strewn in different directions as opposed to.
And even then, I think it would be very difficult for a tornado to try to spread the debris in the opposite direction of the straight line wind, because the straight line wind is then going to pick it up and toss it in the same direction. So there could be cases, there could be spin up tornadoes that they may never be able to find. And that's it's kind of sounds scary, but the thing is, would you rather be hit by an EF0 tornado or a 100-mile-an-hour straight line wind? Because honestly, a 100-mile-an-hour straight line wind will do much more damage than an EF0, and maybe even an EF1. Because an EF0 tornado, if you're in a sturdy built house, or like my apartment building, an EF0 would probably take the roof, would probably peel off shingles, which for me, I have a metal roof on this building. It may peel off some of the metal. It might break a window. And trees may get partially knocked down, or a bunch of
branches will come down. But at that point, it doesn't really matter,
But a straight
100 miles an hour inside of a tornado as opposed to 100 miles an hour straight line wind event, there's the same amount of physical force behind it.
And honestly, a straight line wind in some cases could be even worse because unlike a tornado is tiny. Widespread wind like this, you're talking, and we could be talking hundreds of miles wide of straight line wind from maybe, say, and I'll just take a guess, from, say, southern Michigan to Indianapolis or to something like that fact. That there could be damage that widespread, maybe 150 to 250 miles wide, from say Rockford. We'll start at that.
Rockford to Champaign.
Straight line wind start, not the storms, the straight line wind part.
Right.
From say Rockford, and it could be spreading all the way to say Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah.
And even further. So what's
DC
more important?
Might get in on this. Was it Thursday morning?
So. I mean, so people don't, and this drives me nuts. People don't take, this goes back to another rant I've had before of people not taking severe thunderstorm warning seriously, because a severe thunderstorm warning could mean 60 mile an hour winds, but it also could mean 100 mile an hour winds. 100 mile an hour winds, you need to treat all severe thunderstorm warnings almost like they're tornadoes, and that you need to, at the very least, you need to start doing what they say in the warnings for severe thunderstorm warnings, is to go at least away from the windows and maybe be close to shelter, especially even in a basement or an interior hallway, bathroom or closet. You don't have to go in it. Be near it. Because if it looks like it's going to get worse, then go in it. Because then you're there and you're close. You know what I mean? They don't tell people to go to the basement during a severe thunderstorm warning. But they don't tell people to go outside and play either.
That's true. The blanket statement is go indoors. Go to
stay away from
safe shelter.
And it's go inside, stay away from windows. Well, that could mean anything. That could mean let's watch television. You always want to have in the back of your mind, where do you go for a tornado? Because, and I'll bring up the event we had here almost 2 years ago. That was a severe thunderstorm. Although I think there was a tornado warning on it, but I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look. I think it was with them somewhere. Maybe. We had straight line winds. At least, and I didn't measure them, but I could tell from the wind, it was at least 90. We had things hitting the side of our house. And my father, who's still alive at that time since passed, I was at my parents' house, which at the time, and things started hitting the house. We went to the basement because we didn't know if it was a tornado or what it was. We thought it was best to be out downstairs in the basement.
Yeah. All you knew is that there's crap hitting your house, and it was not a good idea to stay.
Here's the thing, and this irks me a little bit, because people don't take severe thunderstorms seriously. A tree can come down in a straight line wind, crashes into your house, and you get smushed and crushed and you die. You didn't die in a tornado. You died in a straight line wind.
Yep.
So, and my father, when he was alive, would not take shelter. He did then, because that was, from what he could tell, was probably one of the nastiest windstorms we'd ever had. And we've had doozies in the past. But this one, from what I recollect, from all the years that I've lived in Anamosa, and even during the time when I was living in Cedar Rapids or Springville, this was probably either the worst or the second worst windstorm we ever had. And I think it was probably the worst, given the amount of trees that fell. And we went to the basement. Any other severe thunderstorm, my father and even my mother would sit and watch TV and do nothing. Even though I would then call them and say there's bad weather. So I tell them bad stuff's coming. And I even did this, and and I don't want to make this into some long drawn out thing, because you need to feed your wife. But anyway, there was an event a few weeks ago where we had severe storms coming in. This was overnight. This was like into the morning.
I remember this well.
Yeah, and they had winds. I think it was gusting to 80 on a warning that was issued for me. it was like 4 in the morning. I called my mother and told her to get to the basement because I did not, because there had been numerous wind reports, damage everywhere, northwest of here, and I didn't want to take a single chance because my mother's bedroom is in the line of 2 trees that are to the west because her bedroom's on the northwest part of the upstairs. And if those trees landed, they would have landed on her bed and she would have been in it. And I'm like, you're getting downstairs. Or at least I think I told her to get into the living room. She did. Did the storm come and be nasty? No, it weakened. But I didn't want to take the chance. So,
and that's kind of how I'm treating this whole potential event is, and that's what I communicated to the owner of the company I work for, is that there's enough uncertainty where we don't know exactly where storms form, but if things happen, they're going to be nasty, and it's better, in my opinion, to not take the chance.
Better be safe than sorry.
Yes, because my worst fear...
It's not worth risking.
My worst fear was kind of what you were explaining with how storms will form if the sun comes out in the morning, and I kind of touched on it with him. If the sun comes out and stuff, the instabilities will be very high, and the dynamics will be such that storms will get going very quickly, and they will very quickly turn severe and possibly start producing tornadoes. And that's the part where I told him I don't want to be in a situation where we're stuck outside and there's a developing thunderstorm, a violently developing thunderstorm right next to us, and we're outside on a job site with nowhere to go. Because I was at 2 job sites today, one in southwest on the southwest side of Cedar Rapids, and another site right next to 380 in North Liberty.
Yeah.
And both of those offer no substantial shelter, period. Yeah. Both buildings are completed. The one on the south side of Cedar Rapids, the roof is up, so half the day I was working with a roof over my head, which was nice today. But this is like a 300,000 square foot building with no walls. So so whatever wind will come in anyways, whatever rain will come in anyways, and any flying debris that is with that wind, whether associated with straight line winds or tornado, will come in, and we're not allowed inside the building, the main part of the building, because the expansion, it's a building expansion, so part of the new building connects with an existing warehouse.
Yeah.
But and the other job site in North Liberty, it's a completed building. It's a small office building. I think it's like 15,000 square feet or less. But there's no basement. There's no interior rooms completed, so everything's still exposed to the outside. Yeah. And there's nowhere really close that we can go.
Yeah.
So with that, I just don't think it's a good idea that we even work tomorrow.
Well, it's because I have this drawn out right now that, because I have to go to paint program so I can start drawing, that, I mean, there could be storms like up here or down here, but you never know where they're going to form. We pretty much know they're going to be moving kind of like this, east, slightly south of east, kind of like that. That's about all we know. Do we know what they're going to look like? No. Do we know where they're going to form? I mean, we could have them forming here. They could form clear over here. But we don't know that until storms, because this is from because I took the radar, for those that would know this, I took the Gibson Ridge radar, printed the screen, then copied it, and so you can see the marks over here from the storms that are in central Iowa that don't look very exciting right now, but
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I did this to show something that all we know is the storm direction is going to be like this. That's about all we know. And this may even change. It may be more like this. So, but my guess is going to be more east-southeast, something like that. So you're going to be somewhere like right here.
Correct.
Probably. So if there's stuff like over here, you're fine. But if it's like right here and you're still at the job site, you're in trouble.
And that's what I communicated to him.
Yeah.
Was we don't know where storms are going to form. If storms form west of us, we are in trouble. And that's the whole worst fear thing. If we get caught in that situation, then we got a bunch of people who really have nowhere to go.
I drew this black line. This is where that's where the enhanced risk is. From this point eastward.
Yep.
About here. The moderate risk starts about right here. And it goes to the east. The slight risk goes about like this far. Something like that. But, I mean, does it matter where the line is? You can have a tornado here. You can have a tornado here. You can have a tornado here. It doesn't matter. Just be prepared for the worst. Hope for the best. Stuff like that.
Correct.
And that's the case for anybody that has to be outside tomorrow. So I'll take this off since we're going to try and wrap this up because we said we were going to do this quick and we've done this for quite longer than I thought we would do it. So what's probably going to happen is the next episode, Matt's still going to be drunk, but we're probably going to be reviewing this. We may actually do another show to review this, so then Matt's not having to be half drunk and half trying to review this. Otherwise, we're going to be totally confused as to what we're doing. So we'll see, because we're going to have to review this, because this is something we're going to have to review as to what went wrong, what went wrong. That sounds like a tongue twister. And what went right and stuff to that effect. So,
at the very least, this is a pretty interesting situation to look back on.
Yeah, so it's going to be looked at probably for if it ends up being boring, it's going to be for the next 2-3 days, and then everybody's going to forget about it. So if we have nothing else to discuss, we can get back to normalcy.
Yep. My wife just got home, so I'm going to go get ready for dinner.
Okay, so Matt's going to go to dinner. I'm going to go and look at more models. So we're going to see you when Matt's going to be drunk as a skunk. Friday, Saturday, we're not sure yet. So he'll be live, we think. So we'll see. We'll see you then. Goodbye.
Later.